Hi. I am working on a piece of music here in the studio today that I want to share with y'all, and I'm going to be working on this for a little time to come. I've still got a few things that are going to need to happen in sequence here, but today's focus is going to be something referred to as release prep. And as it says at the top here, this is a large scale production, and getting it ready to stem out is a process, a practice. And I'm going to be sharing how I do that. This production's over 150 tracks. It's not as big as some of them can get, but as I've actually progressed, my track sizes are coming down a lot. I like to have a lot more direct tracking that's taking place that captures what it needs to capture with less effort. That being said, though, this track is about my inspiration that I've found from the space program, NASA and the Perseverance rover, and this stuff. And I'm going to just share this with you for a second. So the actual title of this, the working title of this thing is Narwhale. I come up with interesting titles, working titles for something, but really it's about the Perseverance space program. And during COVID-19, I mean, we're still obviously dealing with the COVID era, but the earlier part of the COVID era, I was glued to this, like, you wouldn't believe, finding my inspiration here. Yeah, this type of thing has always been important to me from the time I was a child, playing on a little upright piano in the garage and dreaming of being an astronaut and all these things. And there's several different things that work inside of here, this track. One is that I'm capturing that spirit. The other is that there's a fusion of human emotion and science that comes together and things like this. I've had the pleasure of knowing some really accomplished scientists, and there's this idea sometimes I think people get that science is a very unemotional place where it's data driven and experimentation driven, and experiments succeed, experiments fail. A failed experiment is no reason to cry. You just take the data. There's a very impactful, direct kind of mentality that a lot of scientists have about where the emotion should be placed. When you're talking about putting a rover on another planet or something, there's passion here on a level from these scientists that, just like the Cassini space mission to Saturn, watching that space mission end, and you see team members on the Cassini program that have been inside of there for 20 years. This has been their entire professional life, is this one space mission. There's so much that goes into this stuff. It's so intense. And I think that the emotion is one of the most powerful things in the human genome. It really, really is. Has more power to direct things than anything else sometimes when it's harnessed properly. The other thing here is this is a piece that's about sequential thinking, about building off of the things that preceded it, which is a big part of the space program. One thing was done, the next thing was done. Before they put a rocket into a space, they put a rocket on a sled. Before they put a rocket on a sled, they mounted a rocket to a bracket and fired it, whatever else. One thing begats the next. And that's why I went back to a piece of classical music on this called Adagio by Albinoni, and took this and reversed it and reversed engineered a totally different take on this thing. And I have to mention it because it's so far away now from the original Adagio track. It's on a different planet. So I'm going to go ahead and play this now. And one last thing before I do is it's critical to understand this is a work in progress. I'm through the arrangement now. The arrangement is kind of set. There is a slew of things getting ready to happen here. And mixing the drums, mixing the synths, everything is going to be a huge part of this. Oh my, the difference it's going to make when this track is dialed in. When those drums are where they need to be and you can feel them in your spine. Oh, yeah. So what I'm trying to get across to you here is we're not there. This is release prep, not release. Okay, this is a really big behind the scenes look at how I do my work. Okay, this is kind of like where my secrets are and everything like this. And I'm sharing this now because I don't know, I wish someone would have helped me out when I was, early in the stages of doing this kind of stuff with a DAW 25 years ago or whatever else, and really showed me some of these tricks. And there's no reason I can't take a chance and share them with you all. All right, so I guess the really important thing to talk about here first is signal flow and how I handle signal flow. And this is something I've developed. I've developed this in conjunction with working with film scoring soundtrack engineers and how they work, so that I've created from a start, a template that allows me to manage being able to navigate a large-scale project, being able to gain stage and control the volume. You'll notice I had a little 1.7 peak here on this project there, but that's not anything to be up in arms about. I'm not even to stems yet, but I will address that before I stem out. Certainly, because what I do is in the process, I make sure that I'm doing everything I can do in a sequential way that it should happen to not create problems in the spirit of trying to create music. And volume and gain staging is a huge part of that, What's this guy doing here? Hang on a minute. There we go. So I use a submix mastering system, submix production system. You'll notice I have a master out here, and that master out is the last stop to the listening bus, okay? The only thing that's going to go on a listening bus is metering. Like for instance, I've got this guy here in place just to get rolling. But you'll notice that my channels are essentially very clean. There's not a lot going on here. I don't pile on plugins for the sake of piling on plugins. So before we go to the master out, we come to the submix master. And inside of here is where this network of submixes links up into a mix. Okay? So everything comes from down here. Like, let's take strings for an example. Let's just use that as an example. Or actually, we'll use synth leads. Bear with me here for a second. So here we have my individual tracking. There's a synth I'm using. Another synth. These are the individual tracks. And on those tracks, I'll have automation in place. Okay? And I'll have the bold strokes, like maybe some bass cuts and things like this before I stem out. Then that comes into this submix bus. My synth leads can now all be controlled from that level of volume. Okay? So on the scale of the project, I've done some fair amount of, leveling and mixing and stuff like this. I'll open up the string submix so you can see this as well. There's a lot going on in there, and a lot of it is volume, and that's primarily that, and then, of course, the programming of the synths themselves are happening at that level. So then, from the submix and all these other things, rhythmic accents, piano, synth plucks, bass, strings, bass, orchestral perk mix, drum submix, brass master, I should say submix. Excuse me. Okay, woodwinds, submix. These things all come up here to the submix master. This is where this gets interesting. Then once I'm at this phase of the project, and what's another thing that's nice about this is when I highlight this here and then I switch over to a mix window, that's the, I put this on single track, submix master, yeah. This is basically the entire project now in submixes. This guy all the way to here, then out the master, then out the listening bus. So when I'm monitoring a project, I can see my submix master right there in front of my face. Now, of course, this gives me an added ability to be able to come to the submix chain here, the track stack, and then I can do automation here if necessary. It's basically my last stop, okay? And then here on the master out, I'm dealing with the total mix, okay? This is a mastering area from the submix on up. I'm not handling so much mixing in the submix master. I'm handling mixing down here in the tracking area. You see this? So that when I'm coming up here and I'm making moves, they're very small. Because the idea is it's been refined. It's been sculpted and moved every which way it needed to be moved. So the nice thing is when I stem out, like I'm about to start doing, you see, then I can switch off the MIDI instruments. I'll now have the audio in place, and I will take the MIDI instruments and I'll bring them down here to a folder. I'll create. Let's just do this because I'm going to start with bass, and I'll call this bass. Oh, wait a minute. Let me create a folder stack there. I'm going to create a folder stack out of that. Okay. And we're going to call this bass MIDI. Now, why would I do something like that? The reason I do something like that is because if I get a call from a licensing engineer or somebody wants to, hey, could you take this out, or could you add this, or could you, do something that involves me going back to a MIDI track to do it, all I have to do is come down here, switch it on, do it, bang, move it, place it in, and it's done. This is the final stop for this project. That's the cool part about this. I'm not taking stems out of here, loading them into a new project, because the idea of creating a master mix or whatever else is this phased process where I come up from the tracking into the mix master, into the master out. Boom, boom, boom. Frickin' fast. Okay? So now we're talking about stemming out on the individual level here. So this is the place where I'm going to now start cleaning house. Oh, I've already done some there. Okay, good. I'm going to check each piece of MIDI audio. I mean, this is a good few hours work here. I'm not going to probably do this the entire time with you, but okay, so I'm going to come down to here. Like here, I was in a hurry. We have an untitled track. No. We get this fixed now. Reason-based synthesizer. Now, you want to be, when you're doing a MIDI production, like if you work with mastering engineers, okay, mixing and mastering engineers, when you send them a track, generally speaking, I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm speaking from the ones that I work with, they don't care that it's a Reason-based synth. They want to know there's a bass synth happening there, and it's probably going to be bass synth 1, 2, 3, or 4. They're very cut and dry about these kind of things, but when you're handling things from the production end, man, you want to make sure you know what's going on, where it's happening, what it is you're dealing with. And this is why cleaning house and making sure that your stuff is labeled right is important. Okay. Where a note. Okay. So when I do something like this, I listen to it two ways. I listen to it soloed like I just did. And then I do what's, I basically call in context, and unsoloed that is, but I'm going to now observe the relationship with the bass, and I will probably boost it just so it really climbs up through. Then I'm going to turn that boost off. Remember, I haven't really gotten tight on the mix yet, so there's going to be some things that might have gotten pushed down in level a little bit, because the context of a production is an ever-shifting, changing thing, and sometimes we make mistakes or we come up with an original idea that changes. This is how this goes. So now, in context. And I don't need to boost that, it's fine. But I can show you. See? Oh, that's going to be nice when it's ready. The ending of that is going to get lost in the sauce, and it's probably going to get cut. Doesn't matter. I'm not least bit worried about that. So, oops, don't want to do that. Stand by here for a second. Okay. So in Logic, you're bouncing regions in place. You want to take a quick look through this, make sure you understand this. I'm going to turn the normalization off. And I'm going to stick a pin in that because there's something I really need to tell you about. But whether or not I bypass effect chains plugins depends upon the situation. Here I'm going to do it, but I am going to include volume and pan automation because I'm not trying to create work here. That level will come through, and then I'll use clip gain to raise it up where it needs to be when I move on to the next phase of this. But however, this is what I want to kind of take a look at here. So in Logic, there's a floating point system for peaks. They can either be orange or they can be red. So if you have an orange peak, and which this is not orange peaking, it's okay. But this is a concept that Logic came up with to help manage gain based on the needs of the project and kind of abolish some of the older methods that was used for gain staging and things like this. So if I have an orange peak, it's only a clip really if it's coming out of the master red. If I have an orange here and the master's red, I have no peak because it's being trimmed in the chain on its way to the master. However, when I'm doing this the way I have this set up, I don't allow those orange peaks because when I bounce this in place, I don't want a peak inside of a stem. So I want to make sure that I am not doing that. And I really encourage people who use Logic to not get into the habit of allowing a lot of that orange peaking stuff in a mix. It really can create a lot of problems. If I do that, I'm doing that strictly for a creative reason. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now that I've stemmed that out. I'm going to turn it off. So I just disengage the instrument. It's still going to use a little bit of memory, but it does stem a lot of the memory that it uses. I don't like to unload instruments unless I have to. And now I brought this guy down here for cold storage. Let's say there's some reason I need to switch that bass line. I can't imagine what that would possibly be. I can always come back here, boom, turn that on, unmute the track, and make my moves. You see? And then I can always re-export that. I don't have to go hunting for some kind of crazy, what sequence was it? Was it number 109 or 107 or any of that kind of stuff? I don't have to do that. This little system I came up with, and kind of proud of it. Okay. All right, let's keep moving. As you can see, it's going to be a little bit of a time-consuming process here, because not only am I stemming out, I'm saying grace on the final edit for that particular device, whatever it is. I'm going to go ahead and join these together. And it's past quality inspection. You know, this is where the editing really this is one of those moments where the editor really has the run of the show. Just a little thing here, and I'm really being picky about that. I'm just going to knock that down. Just for experiment's sake, I'm going to go ahead, grab these, and I'm going to shift them forward by 50 milliseconds. I just want to see something. Let me actually... Okay. Yeah, I'm liking where the body of the bass is on this. Oh yeah, and then now we're getting into multi-note parts of this thing, and this is really, you know, another critical part about this, and this is humanization. Where you use it, how you use it, to what degree you use it, you know. So in this particular case, I can go ahead and pull up the MIDI transformer, and I can come into humanize. So there's a whole lot of things that you can do here, but I'm going to just set these to through. And this is a very kind of an abstract concept, so I'm going to do my best to explain this as best as I can. You have perfect timing, like Timex watch. And then you have realistic timing. Even a highly trained virtuoso level classical musician, their rhythm is not perfect. It'll sound perfect to most ears, but it's not robotic. What this does is it takes roboticism out of this, but I want to be careful here, because part of what makes this mix come to life is the fact that I am trying to personify the relationship between a human being and a rover. Okay? So I don't want it to get to a point where it's not you know, a little bit robotic. Anyway, I'm going to set this to 10 ticks, and it's up to you whether you can hear the difference. And I'm going to go ahead and do select and operate. I mean, I could do operate only here, but I'm just going to make sure I've got every little thing. Now, those things just moved, and they moved ever so slightly. Okay. Okay. So you say to yourself, okay, well, I didn't really hear a difference there. Well, like most things in production, when you take the cumulative effect of doing that over the space of 200 tracks in a production, what you're going to have is a much more fluid, easy to digest thing. And the reason this happens is, let me go ahead and point this out. And there are some people that may debate this, and that's fine. But in research, and I can't remember the exact sources, there's several sources where you can find this information, that what is the most easily understandable common denominator of music to the entire human race is rhythm. Okay? When you start talking about harmony and you start talking about melody, there is an adoption of several different other premises that come into play with how we understand that, how we feel that, how we digest that, how we remember that, and everything else. But one thing most human beings can tell is when something is out of rhythm. Okay? Something is mistimed. You know, this goes through everything that we do. It's like someone who works a really fluent auto mechanic can stand in front of a car and listen to it and tell if something's going wrong with that engine that you can't sense because they can hear a mistime. They've trained themselves to know how in time an engine is by the way it sounds. It's a refined kind of a thing. Well, this is kind of like that. You know what I mean? All right, I'm going to keep moving. All right, so let's go ahead and get a nice proper name on here. This is going to be Reason-Based Synth 2. Okay. Make sure that's the only one we have here. Okay. Okay, there we go. We're all good to go. And you see that I'm getting a very nice full level there. I'm going to switch this off. Okay. And what do? I take it, I grab it, and I move it down to the storage area. My base cold storage area. And I'm going to try to also keep the right order that it came in to. The same order as the tracking up here. What's really important is that the titles match. Oops. Speaking of which. Okay. Then if I go here and I do an Option Shift N, my region names change to the track names. And this is important because when I'm looking here at a project, this is always looming here for me to see. Okay. Just solo this guy out. Let's take a look at what we've got. This is going to be a Reason-Based 3. That's running through a filter out of the submix controller itself, so I'm not concerned about that. Now, in context. That's going to do just fine. I'm going to glue these together and I'm going to humanize them. You'll find that the 10 clicks on the humanization works very well, especially with orchestrated tracks. Okay, there we are. I'm going to select and operate. Now I'm going to do the export. All checks are secure. Quantization has taken place. So we got to get a name here. This is going to be Reason-Based Synth 3. See, when I'm in the middle of a project and I'm moving like the wind, sometimes it's like I'm so concerned about not breaking the flow of what I'm doing. I'm creating instruments so fast and writing instruments so fast that I'm not taking the time to name them because I'm literally go, 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 go. And that's how you get into this kind of a situation. So make sure our names match. 3. Oops. Man, I'm going to take a typing class this year. It's like one of my personal goals because I want to do some writing. And if anybody's taken typing classes out there and you've had a good run of one, I'd love to hear about it. Because I'm sure I'm going to find something online that can really improve my typing skills. We're always growing, always adapting. Okay. I'm excited. Man, this is so good to be on the export side of this track. This track was a real... took a lot of calendar time to come up with a track like this because I just really wanted it to evolve. Okay, let me take a close listen to this. Okay. That's going to do just fine. I just wanted to see something here. Hang on a minute. Just going to put a little bit more heat on this. Okay. I know you're probably looking at this saying, man, he puts a critical level of attention to this. Actually, it's not hard to do because I practiced it. It's just part of a practice. It's just the things that I have done so many times now that, I don't have to have a checklist anymore. I used to have a checklist to do this all the way up till like a few years ago. Okay, humanize. Okay, select and operate. And we're ready to go on what is going to be Reason-Based Synth 4. Man, keep catching that comma. Okay. We're good. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. All right. I used to think the whole humanization thing was kind of a load of crap because, I don't know, just in my head, technically speaking, I couldn't imagine that it made that much of a difference. And man, I'll tell you, the first time you bring this into your own music and embrace it and listen to befores and afters, that's when it's kind of like the light bulb goes off, like, oh my God, I should have been doing this all the time. Not sure why that's trimming off right there. Don't like that. Want my tails. I'm going to have to check that in my settings next one. Bass 2, fatter. Like the composer. Okay, wait a minute. Stretch out here. Let's get these all in the same group. Okay. I'm going to drop these back 50 milliseconds. Just experiment with what might happen. Always in Logic, if you're going to try to nudge things back, you have to extend the region beyond the playhead of the note. I'm going to undo that. And I'm satisfied that we're where we need to be. I'm going to go ahead and listen to him in context. So you'll notice I'm not checking the exports. Somebody might be wondering about that. I need to check that again. I can't have a noise there. Bear with me. That's just because I stopped the playhead. Yeah, that's all that was. Okay, good. Let's do a nice quick humanize. Select and operate. Okay. And let's get a good name here. Anna base. This is going to be Anna base 1. 1. Okay. Let's just go ahead and roll that out. Man, am I keep doing that? What am I doing? What is happening? What is happening? I can't understand. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. This is fine. Oh, wrong thing. Man. Wake up. I don't know why that's doing that. I got a key. I'm thinking I got a key that's sticking out. There we go. Sorry about that madness. And I know that I'm going to want a little bit more out of that, so I'm just going to go right over here to good old, our best friend in the mixing department, little clip gain. Boost that up a little, just for now, to get it in the ballpark. And obviously I've got something here that was no longer part of the project, so that's out. Oh yeah, we got to make sure we don't miss any of these. Let's go like this. Okay. Now I could link those two regions together, but I don't want to do that because there's a lot of silence between the regions. So if I would take and put those regions together, it would incline me by eye to look at those regions and think that between here and here, something was going on. And the simple truth is there isn't anything going on in between there. You know? So let's not fool ourselves. Okay? Okay. Just give me a second here. Get set up. Okay, this is a deeper bass, and I want to be careful here. As you move down lower in frequency, sometimes basses seem to have a little bit of lateness to their voice. This is because of the frequency in the human ear. I'm going to back that 50 milliseconds. Yeah. And I keep saying 50 milliseconds, and I don't know why. It's 10. Sorry, 10 milliseconds. Forgive me, please. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, I'm going to check the other one really quick. Actually, humanize first. Okay, select and operate. And let's take a quick look at you. I'm going to back you up 50 or 10. I keep saying 50. Sorry, I don't know what's with me today. Let's listen to something here. I'm going to go ahead and extend the length of these just a little bit. Get a little more out of those. Okay. And I'm going to take and extend that. So as you can see, this is a little bit of a labor of love, this part of this process, you know. But, you know, let's go ahead and humanize this one. It's good to create a checklist. It's good to have a sequence that you go through when it comes to stemming out. You know what I mean? You think to yourself, oh, I know what to do. I know what to do. You know, there can be as many as 10, 15 things in here that you're going to realize that, you know, I want to make sure from now on, when I'm stemming out, I do this, I do that. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, you want to kind of be hypercritical of what you're doing. And that's going to cover it for today, because I've got a lot more I've got to dive into here, and I'm going to need to flow a little bit faster. Then I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to apply this moving forward, and I might come back on and do some more. But thanks for being with me. Please like and follow my channel. I'm going to be doing all kinds of, you know, there's a lot of people out there talking about the exciting stuff and the big concepts and everything else. I'm going to be talking about those kinds of things, but really, this is work, you know, and it's good to know how deep the rabbit hole goes. Take care, everybody.